Every morning, I do 5 simple things. I'm 92, my blood pressure is like a young woman's. I climb stairs without getting winded, and I don't take a single pill, not one. And I don't say that to brag. I say it because I wish someone had told me at 50 what I'm about to tell you now. It would have saved me a lot of years of feeling like my body was betraying me. It wasn't. It was just asking for the right things, and I wasn't listening. Come with me. I'll show you what my morning looks like. Not because I think you should copy it exactly, but because once you understand why each thing matters, you'll start listening to your own body, the way I finally learned to listen to mine. I wake up at 6:15. I know, some people hear that and think I'm some kind of discipline machine. I'm not. I wake up at 6:15 because my body likes it. It took me years to figure out that trying to sleep until 8 and then rushing through my morning made me feel worse, not better. My body likes rhythm. It likes knowing that at 6:15, the day begins the same way it began yesterday and the day before that. There's something deeply comforting to your nervous system about predictability. I'll explain why in a minute. But first, the first thing I do. The first thing is water. Not coffee, not tea, water. I put a glass on my nightstand the night before, so it's sitting there at room temperature when I open my eyes. 12 ounces. Not ice cold, not hot, just room temperature. I drink it before my feet touch the floor. I sit up slowly, take the glass, and drink it over about a minute, not gulping, sipping, like I'm saying good morning to my body from the inside. Here's why. You've just gone 7, 8 hours without a single drop of water. Your body has been breathing, sweating, processing, and every single cell in you is a little thirsty. Think of your blood vessels like pipes in an old house. You know what happens to pipes when there's not enough water flowing through them. The pressure changes. Things get sluggish. Sediment builds up. Your blood is the same way. When you're dehydrated, your blood gets thicker. Thicker blood means your heart has to push harder to move it through those pipes. That's why a lot of people wake up with a headache or feel stiff and groggy. It's not age. It's not some mysterious condition. Your pipes are dry. You need water in those pipes before you ask your heart to start pumping everything around. I learned this when I was 67. I went to the doctor because I was waking up dizzy. She ran tests, everything looked fine, and she said, "How much water do you drink in the morning?" I said, "Coffee." She looked at me like I had just told her I wash my face with motor oil. She said, "Maria, you're not sick, you're dry." I started drinking water first thing in the morning, and the dizziness went away in 3 days. 3 days. I had been dry for years and didn't know it. So that's the first thing. 12 ounces of room temperature water before your feet hit the floor. Simple, free, takes 1 minute, and it changes the entire trajectory of your morning. The second thing comes about 20 minutes later. I've made my bed, I've opened the curtains, I've let the daylight in. That daylight matters more than people think. Your eyes have special cells that talk directly to the part of your brain that sets your daily rhythm. When daylight hits those cells, it's like a switch being flipped. Your body knows it's daytime. It starts producing the hormones you need for energy and stops producing the ones that make you sleepy. People who never see morning light wonder why they feel tired all day. It's not that they need more sleep. It's that their body never got the signal that morning happened. So I open the curtains and I stand in front of the window for a minute, just a minute. I look out at the sky, at the trees, at whatever's there. I let my eyes drink in that light. Then I go to the kitchen and I make the second thing. This is the one that took me the longest to figure out and the one that I think changed the most for me. I make a drink. Not coffee yet, not tea. I make what I call my morning brew. And it's really very simple, but every ingredient in it is there for a reason. I take a mug and I put 1 tablespoon of raw cacao powder in it. Not cocoa powder, not the sweetened stuff in the baking aisle. Raw cacao. There's a difference. Regular cocoa has been processed at high heat, and a lot of the good compounds get destroyed in that process. Raw cacao is the real thing. It's bitter. That's okay. I'm not drinking it for pleasure. I'm drinking it for what it does. Then I add a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, not just for flavor, although it does help with the bitterness. Cinnamon helps your body manage blood sugar. When you wake up, your blood sugar is low. A lot of people spike it hard first thing with toast or cereal or juice, and then they crash 2 hours later and wonder why they're exhausted at 10 in the morning. The cinnamon helps smooth that out. Then I add a tiny pinch of sea salt, just a tiny pinch, not enough to taste it as salty, just enough. Salt helps your body absorb water. Remember those dry pipes we just talked about? The water I drank first thing needs minerals to actually get into the cells, not just pass through. A tiny pinch of salt in the morning helps your body hold on to that water and use it. Then I add 1 teaspoon of magnesium powder. This is the one I want you to pay attention to. Magnesium glycinate. Not magnesium oxide, which is what most cheap supplements use. Magnesium oxide is poorly absorbed. Most of it just passes right through you. Magnesium glycinate is the form your body can actually use. I stir 1 teaspoon into the warm water with the cacao and cinnamon and salt. Here's why magnesium matters. Think of your nerves like electrical wires. In a house, wires have insulation around them, so the electricity flows where it's supposed to flow. Your nerves have something similar, a protective coating. Magnesium is one of the key materials your body uses to maintain that coating. When you don't have enough magnesium, your nerves get frayed, like wires with cracked insulation. The signals don't travel cleanly. You get twitches, you get cramps, you get that restless feeling in your legs at night. You get anxiety that seems to come from nowhere. And you get poor sleep. Because magnesium is what tells your nervous system to calm down. It's the brake pedal. Without enough of it, you're driving through life with no brakes. I started taking magnesium when I was 73. I had been getting leg cramps at night, bad ones, the kind that wake you up screaming. My doctor wanted to give me a muscle relaxant. I said, "Isn't there something simpler?" She said, "Try magnesium." Within 2 weeks, the cramps stopped. Within a month, I was sleeping better than I had in years. And within 3 months, the random anxiety I had been carrying around like a heavy coat just started to lift. I hadn't even realized how tense I was until the tension started to go away. I think about my mother sometimes. She lived to be 84, but her last 10 years were hard. She had cramps, she had trouble sleeping, she was anxious all the time. She took pills for all of it, blood pressure pills, sleeping pills, anxiety pills. I wonder sometimes, if she had known about magnesium, would she have needed all those pills? I don't know. I can't go back and change that, but I can tell you what I know now, and you can decide what to do with it. So that's the second thing. The morning brew. Raw cacao, cinnamon, sea salt, magnesium glycinate in warm water. I drink it slowly while I sit at my kitchen table and look out the window. It takes me about 10 minutes. I don't look at my phone, I don't turn on the news. I just sit and drink and let my body wake up gently. That 10 minutes of quiet is part of it too. Your nervous system needs a gentle start. It doesn't need to be thrown into a crisis the moment you open your eyes. And honestly, what's on your phone at 6:30 in the morning that can't wait until 7? I learned that the hard way. I used to check the news first thing, and I noticed that on the mornings I did, my whole day felt more rushed and more anxious. On the mornings I didn't, I felt steady, like I was standing on solid ground instead of a shaking floor. The third thing comes about 45 minutes after I wake up. This is the movement, and I want to be clear about something. When I say movement, I don't mean exercise. I don't mean going to a gym. I don't mean putting on special clothes and doing something for 45 minutes. I mean movement. Simple, gentle movement that tells your body the day has started. I do 3 things. First, I stand in my kitchen and I reach my arms up over my head as high as they'll go. I hold that for 10 seconds. Then I bend forward and let my arms hang toward the floor. Not forcing, just letting gravity pull me down. I hang there for about 20 seconds. Then I come back up slowly. I do that 3 times. It takes about 2 minutes. What this does is simple. You've been lying flat for 8 hours. Your spine has been compressed in one position. Your muscles have been still. Reaching up and bending forward is like gently stretching a rubber band that's been sitting in a drawer. You're reminding your body what its full range of motion feels like. You're telling your spine, hey, you can move, you're not stuck. And you're getting blood flowing to your back, your legs, your brain, that forward bend especially. When you bend forward, blood moves toward your head. When you come back up, it moves back. It's like priming a pump. Your brain gets a fresh delivery of oxygenated blood right at the start of the day. Then I walk. I walk for 10 minutes. Not fast, not slow, just a natural pace. I walk around my neighborhood if the weather is good. If it's raining or too cold, I walk around my house. I have a little route, kitchen to living room to hallway to bedroom and back. I know exactly how many steps it is, and I do enough laps to get about 1,000 steps. It takes about 10 minutes. Walking is the most underrated medicine in the world. I truly believe that. When you walk, everything in your body works better. Your heart pumps a little harder, which is good for those pipes we talked about. Your lungs expand a little more, which gets more oxygen into your blood. Your digestive system wakes up. Your lymph system, which is like your body's cleanup crew, starts moving. The lymph system doesn't have a pump the way your blood has your heart. It only moves when you move. So if you sit all morning, your cleanup crew is on break. Walking gets them working. And here's something I noticed that I want to share with you. After I started walking every morning, my memory got better. Not dramatically, not overnight, but slowly and steadily. I used to walk into a room and forget why I was there. We all do that, right? It's practically a joke at my age. But I noticed that the more consistent I was with my morning walk, the less that happened. And when I looked into it, I found out why. Walking increases the flow of blood to your brain, specifically to the hippocampus, which is the part of your brain that handles memory. It's like watering a plant. The hippocampus needs a steady supply of blood and oxygen to do its job. When you walk, you're watering that plant. I have a friend, Dorothy, who's 86. She told me last year that she was starting to forget things, and she was scared it was the beginning of something terrible. I told her about the walking. She said, "Maria, I can barely walk to the mailbox." I said, "Then walk to the mailbox and back, twice. Tomorrow, 3 times." She started with what she could do, just a little, and she called me a month later and said, "I walked to the end of the street today, and I remembered where I put my glasses." Small things, but small things add up. They always do. I wonder sometimes about the way we think about memory and aging in this country. We treat forgetting things as if it's an inevitable part of getting older, like it's a sentence that gets handed down and there's nothing to do about it. But what if some of what we call aging is just a body that stopped getting what it needs? What if the memory isn't fading because of the years, but because the brain stopped getting enough blood, enough oxygen, enough of the nutrients it needs to build and maintain those neural pathways? That thought changed everything for me. It made me stop feeling like a victim of my age and start feeling like a person who just needed to pay better attention. So that's the third thing. Stretch for 2 minutes, walk for 10. That's it. 12 minutes of movement. Anyone can find 12 minutes. The fourth thing is breakfast. And this is where the B12 comes in. I eat breakfast about an hour after I wake up. Not right away. I let my body wake up first. I let the water and the magnesium and the movement do their work. Then, when I actually feel hungry, genuinely hungry, I eat. My breakfast is simple. 2 eggs, cooked in a little bit of butter. Not margarine, butter. real butter. Your brain is mostly fat, and it needs good fat to function. Eggs are one of the best sources of choline, which your brain uses to make acetylcholine, a chemical that's essential for memory. Without enough choline, your memory gets fuzzy. It's like trying to make a phone call with a bad signal. The information is there, but it doesn't come through clearly. With the eggs, I eat a handful of walnuts, about 7 or 8 halves. Walnuts are shaped like brains, and it turns out that's not just a coincidence. They're rich in omega-3 fats, which are the very fats your brain uses to build cell membranes. Think of it like building a house. If you don't have good materials, the walls are thin and drafty. If you have good materials, the house is solid. Omega-3s are the good materials for your brain. And here's the part I want you to really hear. With breakfast, I take a B12 supplement, one tiny tablet dissolved under my tongue, not swallowed, under the tongue, because that way it goes directly into your bloodstream, instead of having to survive the journey through your stomach, where a lot of it gets destroyed. B12 is the one nutrient that I think almost everyone over 50 is deficient in, and almost no one knows it. Here's why. B12 is found in animal foods, meat, eggs, dairy. But as you get older, your stomach produces less of the acid needed to break down those foods and release the B12. So you could be eating eggs every morning, like I do, and still not absorbing enough B12 from them. It's not that the food is bad, it's that your body's ability to extract the good stuff has changed. And B12 is critical. It's like the insulation on those wires we talked about earlier. B12 helps maintain the protective coating around your nerves. Without enough of it, that coating thins. The signals between your brain and your body get slower. You feel tingling in your hands and feet. You feel brain fog. You feel tired for no reason. And here's the part that breaks my heart. A lot of doctors see those symptoms in older patients and call it normal aging. Or worse, they run a basic blood test. The B12 comes back in the so-called normal range, and they say everything is fine. But the normal range for B12 is set so wide that you can be functioning at a level that's technically normal, but practically terrible. It's like saying a car is fine because it starts, even though it can't go over 30 miles an hour. I found out I was B12 deficient when I was 68. I had been feeling tired and foggy for months. I thought it was just my age. My daughter insisted I get tested. The doctor said my B12 was normal. My daughter, who is much pushier than I am, asked for the actual number. It was 280. The normal range goes down to 200, so technically normal. But functional medicine doctors will tell you that anything below 500 is too low for optimal brain function. I started taking a B12 supplement, a methylcobalamin form, which is the form your body can use most easily. Within 2 weeks, the fog lifted. I felt like someone had turned on a light in a room that had been dim for years. I think about all the people in their 60s and 70s who are walking around feeling terrible, thinking it's just what happens when you get older. They're tired, they're foggy, they're tingling, they're forgetting things, and they accept it because everyone around them accepts it, because that's the story we tell about aging in this culture. You get old, you fall apart, that's just how it is. But what if it isn't? What if some of it, maybe a lot of it, is just B12, just magnesium, just water, just a walk? What if the body isn't breaking down because of time, but because it's been running on empty for years and nobody thought to check the fuel? That question keeps me up sometimes, not because of my own health, but because of my friends. I've watched too many people I love decline in ways that seemed inevitable, but maybe weren't. And I don't say that to make anyone feel guilty. I say it because I want you to question the story. I want you to ask whether what you're feeling is really your age, or whether your body is just asking for something it hasn't been getting. So that's the fourth thing. Eggs, walnuts, and B12 under the tongue, about an hour after waking. when you're actually hungry, not before. The fifth thing is the one that has nothing to do with supplements or food or exercise, and it might be the most important one. The fifth thing is that I do something that matters to me before I do anything that matters to anyone else. Let me explain. After breakfast, I sit down and I write. Not a journal exactly, not a diary. I write a letter to someone every morning. It might be to my daughter. It might be to a friend I haven't seen in years. It might be to my late husband, who's been gone for 11 years. I write to tell them something I'm grateful for, or something I remember, or something I want them to know. I don't always send the letters. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I just write them and keep them. But I write for about 15 minutes every morning, and it is the thing that anchors my day. Here's why this matters, and it's not just sentimentality. Your brain is not a filing cabinet. It's more like a garden. Memory doesn't work by pulling out a file. It works by growing connections. Every time you remember something, you're strengthening a pathway in your brain. And every time you connect a memory to an emotion, you're making that pathway stronger. Gratitude, love, longing, joy, these emotions are like fertilizer for memory. When you write about something you're grateful for, you're not just being nice. You're telling your brain, this matters. Keep this pathway strong. Maintain this connection. People who lose their memory often lose it not because their brain stopped working, but because they stopped using the pathways. They stopped telling their brain what was important. They stopped feeding the garden. When you retire and your days become empty, and you stop engaging with things that matter to you, your brain gets the message. It starts pruning pathways. It says, she's not using this anymore. Let it go. Writing those letters every morning is my way of telling my brain, I'm still here. I still care. Keep these connections alive. I think there's something else too. Something harder to explain, but just as real. When you spend 15 minutes every morning focused on someone you love, you start your day with connection, not with fear, not with stress, not with the news, with love. And I believe, though I can't prove it the way I can prove the magnesium thing, that starting your day with love changes your body. I think it lowers your blood pressure. I think it steadies your heart rate. I think it tells your nervous system that you are safe, that you are connected, that the world is not a threat. And I think a nervous system that feels safe heals better, ages slower, and lives longer than one that feels threatened all the time. My husband Frank used to say that I had a glow in the mornings. He said it was because I wrote those letters. He said I came out of my writing corner looking like someone who had just been given good news. I think he was right. I think those 15 minutes of connection were feeding me as much as the eggs and the magnesium and the B12, maybe more. So there they are, 5 things. Water on the nightstand, drunk before my feet touch the floor. A morning brew with cacao, cinnamon, salt, and magnesium. 12 minutes of stretching and walking. Eggs, walnuts, and B12 for breakfast. And 15 minutes of writing to someone I love. None of it is complicated. None of it is expensive. None of it requires a prescription or a doctor's appointment or a special machine. It's just 5 small things done every morning in the same order at the same time. And over the years, those 5 small things have added up to something I didn't think was possible at my age. A body that works. A mind that's clear. A life that feels like mine. I want to say one more thing before I let you go. I know that when you hear someone my age talking about health, there's a temptation to think, well, she's just lucky. She got good genes. And maybe I did. I don't know. My mother lived to 84, and her mother lived to 90. So maybe there's something in my blood that helps. But my mother spent her last decade in and out of hospitals, taking a dozen pills, barely able to walk to the corner. And her mother, my grandmother, spent her last years in a wheelchair. So if it's just genes, then I must have gotten a different set than they did. But I don't think that's what happened. I think what happened is that I listened to my body earlier than they did. I started paying attention at 67 instead of 80. I started giving my body what it was asking for, instead of covering up the symptoms with pills and hoping they'd go away. And that's really the whole point. It's not about these 5 specific things. It's about the idea behind them. Your body talks to you. It has been talking to you your whole life. The headache is a message. The cramp is a message. The brain fog is a message. The stiffness is a message. The insomnia is a message. And the message is almost never, you're getting old. The message is almost always, I need something I'm not getting. Water, magnesium, B12, movement, sunlight, connection, rest. These are not complicated things. They are the basic materials your body was designed to run on. And when you give them to it, it responds. Sometimes slowly, sometimes imperfectly, but it responds. Because the body wants to be well. It is always trying to be well. It just needs you to cooperate. I'm 92 years old. I climb the stairs to my second-floor apartment every day, sometimes twice, and I don't stop halfway. I read books without squinting. I remember the names of every person in my building and what apartment they live in. I cook my own meals. I walk to the grocery store when the weather is good. I write letters that I actually mail, with stamps and everything. And I do all of that not because I'm special, but because every morning before the world gets loud, I do 5 small things that tell my body I'm still here, I'm still listening, and I still care. I wonder if any of this sounds familiar to you. Not the specific things I do, but the feeling. The feeling of your body trying to tell you something, and you not quite knowing how to listen. Or maybe you do know, and you've been meaning to make a change, and something keeps getting in the way. I understand that. I was that person for a long time. The person who knew she should drink more water and didn't. The person who knew she should walk more and didn't. The person who felt terrible and thought that was just her lot in life. It wasn't, and yours isn't either. I'll tell you something else. The hardest part wasn't learning what to do. The hardest part was believing that it would make a difference. After decades of feeling like my body was the enemy, it took a leap of faith to start treating it like a friend, to stop fighting it and start feeding it, to stop blaming age and start asking what it needed. That shift in thinking, that was the real work. The water and the magnesium and the walking, those were easy. Believing they could help, that was the hard part. So I guess what I want to leave you with is this. If you're feeling something in your body that you've been blaming on age, try asking it a different question. Instead of, what's wrong with me? Try, what do you need? And then listen. Really listen. The answer might be simpler than you think. It might be a glass of water. It might be a mineral you've never heard of. It might be a walk around the block. It might be a letter to someone you love. It might be all 5 of those things, done every morning, until they become as automatic as breathing. I'm going to go finish my morning now. The dishes need washing, and I have a letter to write to my granddaughter. She's starting college in the fall, and I want to tell her a few things before she goes. Not about health, about life, about paying attention, about listening. Not just to her body, but to her heart. Because the body and the heart, they're not as separate as we think. They're both trying to tell us things all the time. And the people who live the longest and the best are the ones who learn to hear them both. I hope you have a good morning tomorrow. I hope you drink a glass of water before your feet touch the floor. And I hope, somewhere in your day, you find 15 minutes to tell someone you love them. Not because I told you to, because your body will thank you, and so will your heart.